Sit down, but I'll tell you a little story. Go back in here. Did I ever tell you the story? The time when I ended up going on a big adventure with you and your Uncle Mike. I guess you could call your uncle by this point since you spend so much time with him, Billy Bob Bill. Well, it all started. One day, me and your uncle in the old coal mine, searching well for coal, hitting back and forth, and I had a trusty pickaxe. I licked it to make sure that it's clean and it's fine. He says to me, Bert, Hank, you can get me a 10-gallon hat. Of course, I thought he was crazy. I said, you're freaking stupid. But he didn't. He darn doubted me and kept old Mike down. He came back the next day saying he didn't have enough money. But when we found a big chungus of coal, he had enough money. Another time, the shopkeeper said that water was running low, so me and your uncle said to just do something about it. We weren't, and as to the top of your good old bud's papa, Billy Bob Joe Bill Sr., a good man, if I had to say. Well, so we go out to fix it because the water hole's going a bit off to the brink. So we set out to fix it. As long as we found out why the well was empty anyway. So we went off to the well, and after seeing a few cracks in the desert, we decided that since of the late night droughts that have been happening lately, we decided to go and follow, which led to the Twin Peaks Mountains. The mountains straight up the city down by the country roads right there, in the woods and all that. So we ended up finding out it was the Twin Peaks Mountain. Funny story. So we had to climb. So me and the boys got our stuff and got ready. We rode Miss Bessie the Buffalo, which you know from your days you had the other day, and Mike rode Bartholomew with Billy Bob. So we ended up climbing up, and first it was fine until we saw a bison that came over our way. So we got behind some rocks and watched it. Of course, we didn't know what to do till me and Mike saw Billy Bob closing up on him. And I ran, and Mike didn't know. Came closer, and Billy Bob didn't know where to run. Thing was running straight at him, probably due to the fact that he was wearing red. Bam! Popped off a shot, and the darn thing fell to the ground. So we kept and sold it to the shopkeeper. That money we got some more ammo, and Mike got himself a sweet little hunting knife. Shined it up and put it in his pocket. I asked Billy Bob how he popped it so quickly, and he responded with, Hank, you know I always keep a strap. And yeah, he does always keep a strap. I remember when we went to Austria, he kept a strap, and he used the strap to fire off shots at the oncoming visitors because he hates people. Just kidding. He just used it to hunt. It's pretty good at hunting. I'm proud of him. Either way. So where were we? Oh yeah, so we found the cracks in the desert, right? And we decided that it was definitely at the Twin Peaks Mountain. So we had to climb, right? So we had to keep on going up, and the boys got our stuff, and we got ready. You see, I rode Miss Bessie, and Mike rode Bartholomew with Billy Bob. So we climbed up, and first it was fine until we saw a bison come over our way. So we got behind. What? Oh yeah. Oh, I'm already. Oh, sorry. So I asked Billy Bob, and he popped so quickly, and he responded with, Hank, you know I always keep a strap. And that's when it came to me. Billy Bob had a gift like no other. He had a talent no one could step foot on in his wake. He is the essence oozing with power. He was the fastest shot in the West. When he fires, he hits 37 times so quickly, it looks like one shot. That's why everything he shoots obliterates disintegrates into utter heckin' dust. Either way, so after firing off with those bisons, Billy Bob ended up, grabbing some of the meat and skinning it down, and we went down to the stores and we sold off some of the stuff because we knew that we were going to need a lot more supplies if we were going to survive up there so many days to stop this whole water outage and get the well working again so we could use it. Either way, so either way, I looked down at my locket that your grandma gave me, and I knew that I had to work hard with the rest of the boys so we could save all the water, because if it weren't for us, I'm not even sure if our town would still be here. Either way, so after skinning them down, we went and we bought some more supplies. That's where Uncle Mike got his traditional hunting knife that he uses all the time. That's like super big. It's very good knife. I'm very proud of Mike for using that thing, even though it's not very effective towards a gun, because you don't bring one to a gunfight. But he still uses it, which I find kind of funny. Either way, so your Uncle Mike, he's always been a good man. I like your Uncle Mike, right? He's a good boy, right? Either way, so after getting a bit further up that, we hopped back on. I got back on Miss Bessie, and Bartholomew was still there too. I know you see Bartholomew these days, and he's not always in his finest duties because he looks pretty old, but this is when Bartholomew was still the big stallion that she was. Very beautiful horse. Very beautiful horse. Bartholomew was very good. It's just she's getting a bit older now, so it doesn't look as good as she did back in her day. Either way, let's see. Oh yeah, so Bartholomew. We were riding up the mountain, Miss Bessie and all of them, and we got back up there. Well, we saw a darn bison again. This time we weren't taking nothing from nobody, so we popped off a shot straight at it. Then out of nowhere, the rest of the herd of bison started coming. They were running all straight at us, and me and the rest of the boys were like we were all dead. These things are trampling and everywhere, scampering, so we hopped off and we got on some higher rocks with Billy Bob, and he starts trying to pop off shots at all of them. Bang, bang, shoot, shoot, bullet, bullet, gun, gun. So he keeps all night popping at him. Oh, shoot, and then he gets him again. Oh, and then he gets him with it. Oh, and he gets with the shot. Oh, and then he gets him again. Oh, and he pops off the shots, right? So Bartholomew is just amazing at this, just popping all the shots at all of them. So we're trying to get all these bison, but it ain't helping. There's way too many of them. Boom! He hops out right over again. He's hitting all these bison, and then out of nowhere, he comes up with a great idea that saved our lives that day. He said, "Let's just find out who the alpha is, and then after we kill him, they should all run off." And it worked. So we ended up finding the alpha, and we popped off a shot straight at his head. In fact, I think it was Mike who finished him off with the hunting knife right in the head, and he ended up skinning him down, and we ate him. Later, we ended up getting them all down, so we set up camp for the night, because we bought some leather and stuff, so we made up some tents, and we decided we should probably get some rest after all that fighting. So we did, and so, alright, you're going to love this one. So, Billy Bob, he says, hey, Mike, let's say me and you, we drink some beer, because I don't drink beer. Never really have. Never been that into it. I can tell you the story someday of why I don't drink beer, but I don't like it. It hasn't ever tasted any good to me anyway. But either way, so we ended up saddling up for the night, and I'm like, where in the world are you gonna get a cake of beer? I'm asking this towards Billy Bob, because Shucks knows that a big old Bartholomew, even as a very strong horse that he is, he cannot carry an entire cake of beer. He pulls out of his satchel. He pulls out this tiny little cake of beer. It's about the size of like a 2-liter of those drinks that you carry around, right? So it's about the size of like a 2-liter or something, right? It's a very tiny cake of beer. I'm like, you are just the gosh darndest man I know, right? So him and Mike are just drinking it. And I find it so funny because that's just the tiniest cake of beer I've ever seen in my day. Either way, so after the cake of beer is popped, it's only from there that we go, right? Well, after getting all situated with himself, I go to bed because I'm not staying up for two drunken idiots to be talking to me, right? And besides, I gotta get some rest so we can hop up early in the morning and get higher up that mountain faster. So I go to sleep and I wake up. It's like, I don't know, maybe 6 in the morning, right? And I'm like, why in the world did I wake up so early? Something startled me because I heard a loud bang, you know. So I'm sleeping and bang! So like something just hops up, right? I'm like, where in the world is this thing? Where did it come from, right? Because I'm terrified. I'm like, where in the world would this thing be? Well, it turns out that... Alright, so I'm looking over at Miss Bessie. She's tied up on a pole, and she's running in circles. Because I try to shake up Mike and wake him up. So I go over to Mike, right? I'm like, what the heck's wrong with Miss Bessie, right? Because he's the only one up. Billy Bob is out somewhere probably hunting and collecting some meat so we can cook it up, right? So I went over to him and I said, why in the world is Miss Bessie running in circles? He said, well, last night when me and him were skinning up the geckos that we were finding out here in the desert, turns out that, alright, you're gonna love this, right? They ended up giving a bit of beer to Miss Bessie. I'm like, you got my bison intoxicated. I'm absolutely petrified. I'm absolutely angry with these guys. I can't believe that you do that to good old Miss Bessie. Well, either way, right? So we're like, okay, so Miss Bessie is drunk. What are we gonna do? Because I can't ride on a drunken buffalo. I don't care if she's the most loyal buffalo that's ever lived. There's no way that I'm gonna ride a drunk buffalo. That thing's gonna be trampling all over everywhere. I'm probably gonna fall off and break my legs. And I'm like, I'm not breaking my legs. I gotta climb up this mountain, right? So we tie up Miss Bessie, and so we just have to settle up on Bartholomew. I'm like, what are we gonna do? So Billy Bob comes back and he's got his satchel and it's filled to the brim with gecko meat, right? And we're like, all right, so what are we gonna do, boys? Like, how are we gonna take care of this? And he says, well, I'll just go on foot. I said, Billy Bob, how do you plan on keeping up with this horse? He said, I'll just try. So we start off running and hiding up this hill. I mean, this mountain is very high. I think that it's about the size of like. All right, so you know the Empire State Building? How that thing's pretty tall. I'd say about like 3/4 of the size. This mountain's huge. Plus, it's got a lot of length to it, so we got to go up very high, steep hills, which I'm not very good at, nor is Bartholomew. So we end up making up one of those steep hills, right? And I'm like, where in the world and how are we gonna keep on climbing up this mountain? Well, turns out that the greatest part of this entire story is the fact that we weren't the only ones who are climbing up this mountain. There was an Indian tribe over there, and they were by a bunch of tents inside some teepees. So we went over to the Indians and we said, hey boys, could you spare us like a pickaxe or something? And they said, we're willing to trade. So Billy Bob, being the absolute genius that he is, he's like, I'll just give him the gecko meat. So he does. And we end up getting like a really nice shiny pickaxe, right? So we hand it over to Mike, because he's the best at like mining and all that technical stuff. So we end up scaling up the mountain by attaching this thing to a chain, right? And he takes this thing and he puts it, and he's like trying to like hide this thing up like a mace. I'm like, you're gonna kill somebody with that, Mike. And he said, don't worry, we just need teamwork. So we all end up grabbing onto the chain of the pickaxe, and we start swinging this thing around, and bam! The thing knocks over one of the teepees. The Indian tribe is staring at us like we're all naked or something. And they end up popping out all their guns, and they're starting to shoot at us. I'm like, what are we gonna do? So these Indians are all firing at us, and we don't know what to do. We're sitting over here inside of our stuff. We haven't got much armor other than Mike. He had a metal plate under his leather coat, right? So we're all terrified. We're petrified. We're like, we ain't gonna live through this. So, of course, Billy Bob, he starts popping off shots at him. I'm like, Billy Bob, you're just killing all these people, aren't you? He said, well, it's our last idea. I mean, it's not like they're gonna stop trying to kill us. We're just gonna end up dying if we don't kill them. So we ended up doing that. We actually killed quite a few of those Indians. right? So they're all running off because they just saw like these absolutely like mushed up bodies of these Indians, right? So we ended up, people, I'm sorry if I scared you a bit there about the whole Indian thing. Don't worry, that's how it was back then. Indians would even like come to our town and try killing us, and the sheriff had to take care of them. That's just how it works here in old western town, right? So we keep on scaling up the mountain. We end up finding the river, and it's very, very, very tiny right now. The level is very low, so there's like barely any water getting through. So we're going up, and we're by it, and we end up climbing up that mountain some more. We find this thing. I don't know what it was, but it's like, I think it's like a Komodo dragon or something, but it had a rattlesnake with it. I'm not sure if they were in a relationship or something, but this rattlesnake ends up circling around the Komodo dragon like a nice coat or something. It's amazing, like they bonded or something. So these things start trampling at us. This Komodo dragon, it's walking towards us. I'm like, that's a rattlesnake. What are we gonna do? So, first Billy Bob tries firing at it, but of course he's out of bullets. So the absolute madman, alright, Mike, he's like, well, we only have one option. Boom! He throws his knife straight at it, and this thing goes right into the Komodo dragon, right in the head. Komodo dragon falls to the ground. This thing is dead as a doornail. So I end up pulling out my pistol, bam, and I shoot right at the rattlesnake. And I don't know, but that thing was just terrifying to us. I don't know. I mean, after fighting a bunch of bison, of course we survived, but still, it kind of scared me at that time, right? So it ends up getting a bit later in the night, and we're like, boys, we just need to get some rest. So we set up some tents, and we settled down for the night again. No one drank any beer. We just all gathered around the campfire, sang a few songs, and we got some rest. I woke up the next morning. I believe Mike was up, but Billy Bob was still sleeping after all the work that he was put through last night. So we woke him up, and we kept on going up that mountain. We were all extremely tired after the entire journey we had. In fact, we were actually running low on water in our canteen, and we needed to get some, right? So Billy Bob's just, let's go filter some over from the river, because why not? So he ends up actually doing that. It's kind of crazy, but he just walks right over to the river, and he grabs out the canteen, he starts filling it up with water, and then we turn around, and what else could it be but a pack of wolves coming straight at us. The main wolf in the tribe was missing an eye, but it was crazy because he had like a spike, right? I don't mean like he was holding a spike, but he had like a vest, right? And had spikes on it. I was like, does this thing belong to someone? But no, these wolves start charging at us, and I'm terrified. I'm like, what are we gonna do? So Billy Bob, he comes over here and he says, I stayed up late last night because I was making some ammunition. And I said, Billy Bob, how did you get all this stuff for making ammunition? He said, hey, with the help of Mike, we just popped up some ammo. I said, alright, if that's what you're gonna do. So we end up using it all, and on those packs of wolves, on that pack of wolves, those things are relentless. We ended up coming down just to that one wolf. Every other wolf has been dead, have been killed, right? So we're staring straight at the wolf. This thing's got mean eyes. This thing's staring straight at us. I'm like, this thing's gonna kill us. This thing's gonna be dead. Thing starts walking towards us, and I'm terrified, right? I'm like, this is gonna be our death. This is gonna be our literal death, right? And this thing is just, this thing's terrifying. Bang! Just like that. Slide of Mike's shotgun right into that wolf's head. Thing falls straight to the ground. That dead body ain't gonna be salvaged either. There's lead all in it. I ain't going through that. So, all those wolves are dead, right? So, Billy Bob, he has up his canteen now, and we start filtering the water and heating it up and boiling it to get all the soot and all the mud in it out, right? Filtering it and all kinds of stuff. We're sitting there, hanging out, right? We filter up the water, and we keep on climbing up the mountain. Billy Bob's way ahead of us. He's got the pickaxe, and he's actually using it to lunge himself forward up a steep hill of this mountain, right? It's covered in rocks. We just use Bartholomew to keep on riding up, and we eventually, we make it to the top of the mountain. What else could it be but a bunch of rocks all lined up? It's like someone has been trying to stop the water from coming. we end up looking over, and there, right over there, is One-Eyed Pete. You may have heard stories of One-Eyed Pete, right? His background is that he used to live in our town until he was kicked out for killing almost everyone in a bar one night. It was terrifying, right? This guy is old, right? So he's been thinking about this plan for a long time. One-Eyed Pete, he's staring at us, right? This guy's terrifying. Pulls out a pistol and he fires straight at Mike. And Mike falls over because of the impact of it, right? And I look, and I turn over at Mike, and I start running at him, and this guy pushes me to the side, and I fall into the ground that is supposed to be the river, right? And my leg is just hurting so bad. It's bleeding. It's bleeding out. So I tie it up, and I sit there, and I'm trying to fire at him, and this guy's coming straight at me. Billy Bob is going over at him with a knife, and then One-Eyed Pete hits him with his shoulder right in the side, and he starts hitting at Billy Bob with a rock, and he picks up this boulder, and he's planning on crushing Billy Bob's skull, killing him. And then Mike, he turns around, and Mike, shook, just like that, because of his bulletproof vest, right? So the knife goes straight through One-Eyed Pete's chest. One-Eyed Pete stares right at me. He falls over, and he's like, "I'll get you. I'll get you all." And he unhinges the knife and he goes running. I'm like, that's some deeds that we don't need to worry about, but how are we going to get this out? So Mike starts hanging at the pickaxe and going at the rocks. The rocks ain't coming out, right? So Mike grabs his knife. He starts using it as like a shovel to try to pull out one of the rocks, right? I'm like, there's a lot of rocks in that river. And Mike says, well, if we get one out, water will start rushing through and we'll knock down all the other rocks. I'm like, that's genius. Didn't think of that. So he unhinges one rock and it starts flooding down, right? And we get back up and I'm like, what are we gonna do? So Mike pulls out this, and he's got a toboggan, right? I'm like, to a giant mountain, why'd you bring a toboggan? Mike said, well, I thought it would be fun to ride down the river. And I said, well, that'd be the best way to get down. There's no way we're going anywhere else, especially because of the fact that when we turn right around, boom, rest of the Indian tribe, all coming straight at us. All of our deeds are starting to pile up by this point, right? They're everywhere. These things are going to kill us, right? Well, he places down the toboggan, he's holding on to it. It's like, guys, get on. We all hop on the toboggan, and we start riding down the river, right? And Billy Bob turns around, he's firing at the Indians, and we're riding down the river. It's, oh my Lord, I swear we were going like 100 miles per hour down that river. Things going so fast that we actually catch up with the waves, right? So, we're going with it, and we're riding down, and there's rocks, and it's all shaky, right? We go straight into the well. Straight up into the well. Because now the well's starting to fill up again, right? And then I'm like, what are we going to do? Miss Bessie. She's still at the mountain, right? We're like, what are we going to do? Lo and behold, I turn around, and Miss Bessie, she's bucking at all these Indians, knocking them into the river. He's hitting all the Indians, breaking their gun on a stump. He steps on their feet. He's beating all these Indians, trampling them everywhere. Those Indians are running. They're going for their lives because we're like, we're going to stop these guys if it's going to be the death of us, right? So Miss Bessie, she's running down the river next to us when we go into the well, right? So she sits there at the well, and she sits down. She just stares at it. As the water level starts rising, me and the boys are all holding on to the walls, pushing ourselves up inside the well. Eventually, whoop, right on the top. This well's full now. Well's entirely full. So, water level's actually higher than it should be now. So we hop on out of the well, and Miss Bessie, she's right there. She's right there with us. Amazing that Miss Bessie would do such a thing, but she worked well. I'm gonna say she worked well. I'm very proud of Miss Bessie. That was an amazing job of her because she had all the might of a brass beast. So we ended up riding back up, and to this day we still like crowd around in the town and we talk by the well because that's where we're like chatting now. But we were actually given money by the town for, you know, fixing the well, right? And that's how me and the boys all got our 20-gallon hats. Very, very big hats. Love them. Beautiful hats. So that's about it. That's the story of how we fixed the water problem, and that's the story of how we got One-Eyed Pete to never come back to this town. To this day, still hasn't come back. I'm not sure if he's planning something, but I bet he's probably dead, because he was about like, I don't know, 80 years old. And this story is like, I don't know, maybe a little less than a long while ago. This is when me and your boys were still in their, like, you know, like younger ages than now, you know, getting a bit older. But that's about the story. Hey, let's say me and you go to the backyard and start hunting for some geckos, huh? You wanna do that? I can call over Mac and we can hang out after that story. I bet you're kind of bored. Either way, I'm working on some ammunition too. I've been adding some stuff into it. Like, so, I took some poison and I put them inside some darts, right? But I also have it inside ammunition, but there's a little needle at the end of it. So like if you shoot a rabbit or something, it's going to poison the meat. That's why you only use it on people. Because if you shoot the person, even if they're wearing like something bulletproof, that needle might just end up getting into it. It's story time with Papa. It's time to have some fun. Listen to the stories until the story's done. You can have some fun and listen to them gloat. But if you stay too long, you might just fall asleep. It's really boring. Papa wants to listen to you talk. But he doesn't want to listen to your garbage. So please say something correctional or constructive in the comments below. Thank you for watching. That's about it.